Welcome. If you were somebody who got confused last night, I know that they had sent out that note that said, "Hey, here's the Zoom information," and it was for the wrong class. I taught that class actually last weekend, and he realized that when he sent that out, he was sending out the wrong message. So hopefully, well, obviously, if you're here, everything worked out great. So in any case, welcome. So my name is Scott Egan. I am an instructor here at UCLA. Let me see if I've got this. Nope, I want to go back to that slide then. Couldn't remember if I put that in there or not. So my background is, this will be about my 34th, 35th year of teaching. I've been teaching at the K-12 level, community college level, a lot of those English 101 classes, those research classes, things like that. Taught at the university level. I've been here with UCLA for, gosh, I want to say at least 4 some odd years, where I've been working over in the program that's focused on those people wanting to become an editor or an agent on that publishing side of things. But UCLA reached out to me and they said, "Hey, Scott, I know that you do this, some of this with your other programs. Do you want to do some stuff with resume writing?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely want to do that." Outside of that, I'm also a literary agent. So I actually represent romance and women's fiction authors to publishers around the world. So I do that. Like I said, currently I'm a teacher right now. I actually teach 6th grade. So weekends and working with you people, it's always kind of a nice breath of fresh air. In any case, that's kind of where I'm coming from. And why don't we just go ahead and dive right in? As I said, if you have questions as we are going, please make sure that you are asking those questions. The one thing that I do want to stress is that the material that we are covering in this workshop, you're going to find a lot of different versions out there. Okay. A lot of different versions. You'll see versions that, you'll see things on Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn or the Owl Purdue site. You will see a lot of different variations. So the one thing that I always want to remind you of is to think, right? In writing, we always talk about the fact that there's no right or wrong answer, but there is a wrong answer. Meaning that in your given situation, what you are doing might not be working there, but it might work someplace else. And what I am going to show you today, what I want you to do is to pull those pieces as we are going here to go, "Oh, I like that idea. Save that for later." Okay. The other thing, housekeeping notes, is that this PowerPoint is in the Canvas course. There is a module set up that's labeled as the workshop. So there's a lot of the handouts that we're doing that I'll have on here that are available for you. I would encourage you to, download those, save those, and look at those and go, "Ooh, I like that piece. I want to keep that for myself." So please definitely make sure that you do that. So our schedule for the day, we got about 5 different things that we're going to be covering. We're going to talk about first impressions. And that was so important. And I always wanted to start with that, is really what that resume is, that resume writing skills, why first impressions matter, and how we can actually increase your hiring potential. We want to talk about how you look at job qualifications and job posting information, how you're going to organize your own skill set to meet that job expectation. And then we're going to talk about the resumes. So as we are going through here, I want you to notice that I'm not getting to the actual resume writing piece until the 4th piece in. Okay. So as we're going in, if you've got those questions of like, should I put this at the top of my resume or here, we will get to that. I promise you. I always get people who want to go, start talking about, should I use 12-point font? I will talk about that part later. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head. And yes, we're going to talk a little bit about writing cover letters as well, to kind of put together this whole package for you. And again, have questions for you at the very end. So again, as we move on, if you got a question, please definitely reach out. Like I said, I don't always see that chat box pop up that says we have a chat. So there's where we're at. Let's go ahead and get started here. I want to talk about why that resume is so important. Okay, I'm going to minimize the screen here so I don't have all the faces up there. When we talk about what that resume is, why it is so important, your resume really can make or break your job application process. Now, in the end, it still comes down to whether or not you are a right fit for that company. Okay. In the end, that's what it's going to come down to. Okay. Even in fact, there's a lot of times right now that applying for jobs on things such as LinkedIn. I was talking to my wife about this yesterday, that even those LinkedIn jobs, people don't tend to get jobs off of LinkedIn anymore, or very limited, even though they always talk about that. Part of the reason is that it's getting jobs anymore is really about that human connection. Still, when you are applying for something and you've got that resume, you want to make sure that you are really selling yourself. So let's take a look at a couple different points right here. Number one, employers will only look at your resume for about 6 to 7 seconds. That's it. So all of this time that you're going to put into building that resume, they're only going to look at that resume for 6 to 7 seconds. Now, I'm going to add to this, however, if you are applying for a job, with a, through some sort of like an online application type of program, they might not even see your resume because they might only see a spreadsheet, or they might see what was being sent out to them from the HR department. So they may never even actually physically see your resume. But if you're reaching out directly to people, again, only 6 to 7 seconds. That's key, right? You got to make sure that you make that sale right from the beginning. You want to make sure that you're showing them, look at what I have to offer. The next one, I love this one. You're going to get the best results between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the morning if you get your resume in there during that block of time, and excuse me, within the first 4 days of that job being posted. If you see this job that was posted and it was posted 2 weeks ago and it's still open, yeah, they're still considering candidates, but in that first 4 days, when those resumes start showing up, when those job applications start showing up, the hiring committee is already starting to sort. They're already starting to look, and they might find somebody early on. They're going to go, ooh, I really like this person. Now you have to compete against that person. Eventually, you are going to be one of maybe 100 some odd people. So you want to get that resume in there as soon as possible. Your resume also needs to be very clear, concise, and this is the last part, tailored for that job. Okay. Now I'm going to stress this, and I'm going to bring it up here again. When we went through high school, when you go through high school, one of the things that the counselors always try to have everybody do is to write a resume. This resume is going to be great for you when you go out and get a job. And even at the college level, as you're getting your bachelor's degree, a lot of times people, that final culminating project in your program, they've got you writing a resume. But here's the thing, that resume is just a template. It's not a one-size-fits-all type of thing. And you're still going to have to be shaping that resume to fit the needs of what that company is looking for. Sure, the basic information is going to remain the same, but what you're doing around it will change. How you format it, how you structure it, the types of words you use, that's going to be key. Now, I want you to look at this last piece. That professionally written resume can also boost your earning potential by 7%. If you think about job postings anymore, and I know California was one of the first states doing this, and a lot of other states started to follow, is that they made it state law that if you are posting a job, you have to post also what the salary range is. And when we see salary range, that's that 7% right there. That if you phrase things in such a way, they might already start boosting you up that salary schedule because they see what you are bringing to that table. So you want to make sure that that resume is doing exactly what they're looking for. And the more you hype that up, the better off you're going to be. So think through that piece. I love those statistics. Here we go now. One of my favorite quotes out there. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Now, when I first heard this one, I heard it from a Head and Shoulders commercial. Head and Shoulders shampoo. That's where I first heard it. I looked and tried to figure out who it was, first attributed to. I don't really care. I just love the comment, right? Because that's so important. Your first impression. When I open up your resume, when you send it to me and I open up your resume, that's my first impression of you. Even if I have already met you, maybe I met you at a job fair. Maybe I met you in a casual conversation, or maybe, you're applying for a job at a restaurant, right? And I've met you before when we've come in here. Your resume is still your first impression. When I open that up in my email box, that's what I start thinking. And that first impression cannot go away. That is just human nature. Now, here's kind of an interesting statistic. I don't think I have it posted. I'm trying to think if I did. Companies, when you go in for a job interview, the moment that you walk in that door, the clock starts ticking. And in 6 seconds, see, we're back to that 6 to 7 seconds again, but in 6 seconds, that employer has already decided if they're going to pass on you. Not if they're going to hire you, if they're going to reject you, regardless of what your resume says. And if you think about it, right, the time it takes from walking in that door across the room to the panel to that hiring table is about 6 seconds. So before you have even opened your mouth and said, "Hi, how are you? Scott Egan, it is so nice to meet you." Before you've even said that, they've already looked at you and said, "Nope, you're not going to fit." And part of it has to do with them looking at you of saying, are you part of our culture? Do you fit what the rest of us look like and how we act and how we behave? That is so crucial. And I think that is, when you think about that, you think about the pressure of that first 6 to 7 seconds, that should say a lot. Okay. So how do we do this? Here we go now. And again, as we are moving through here, if you've got some questions, please make sure that you ask these. The first thing I want you to do is always start with that job description. Before you can have that base resume already built. I have on my computer about 3 base resumes. Okay, one for a publishing job, one for education types of jobs, and I even have one for a theater one. I used to do theater all the time, so I have my base theater resume, those 3. But then I take that resume and that's what I'm going to start to build off of, and I build it based on the job description that we see. Okay, so when I see that posting on LinkedIn, I see that posting on a job board site. So maybe I want to go work at UCLA. Excuse me, I want to go work at UCLA and I go through their careers. I'm going to start with what that job description says. And that's what I'm going to build my resume around, is that job description. And I'm going to tailor that application, tailor everything I have to doing exactly what they are looking for. So when they open it up, their brain is already saying, wow, this person is just like us. So that's where we're going to start with first, is that job description. Now, here's what Indeed.com says. Indeed says that when an employer posts a job opening, they include that list of the responsibilities. So here's what you're going to be responsible for. Then they list their required, or they say their preferred qualifications. This is sort of what we definitely are looking for. And then that preferred one, so we have the required, and then there's also potentially preferred. So the required are things like you have to have a master's degree, or you have to have a bachelor's degree, or you have to have a this type of a trucking certification, right? Whatever that might be. And then they're going to put their preferred ones in. Those are the ones that are saying, you know something, if I've got 10 people out there, those people with the preferred qualifications, I definitely am going to look at them more than those people with just the required ones. Okay. What you'll do is you take those qualifications and you use the same language and the keywords that they're using in your resume. Okay. So if they are talking about somebody who is, let's say, a highly energetic trainer. So if you're applying for maybe at a gym and they want you to be a trainer or a coach, and they specifically say highly energetic and motivated, I'm going to be using the phrases highly energetic and motivated in my stuff. So I'm going to literally change words as simple as that. We're going to be a little more specific a little bit later on, but I think that that'll give you a hint. That tailored resume does a couple different things, okay? First of all, it says that you have the skills that that employer wants, okay? But the other piece, and I do mention this later, so it's good to repeat it, what that shows is that you took the time to actually research their company. They're looking at your words and they're going to go, wow, this person took the time to know what our company is about. You put the company before yourself. Does that make sense to everybody? If at any point on this part right here, if you've got some key questions, definitely make sure that you reach out. I'll stop every now and then and do this, but if you do have a question again, let me know. Okay, cool. Then here we go. The benefits of tailoring a resume. You know, out of all of the pictures, this is the one picture I totally love in my presentation, right? And I like it because that's the reaction you want those people to be having when they look at your job, right? You could almost see this guy going, dude, I think we got the right candidate. And she's leaning over his shoulder going, oh my gosh, take a look at that, right? And the other guy on the right, on that other side, is pointing at that going, do you see? That's going to fit us, right? Now, okay, I'm adding all of that in. I'm adding their dialogue in. But that's the reaction you want to have. Okay. So what are those benefits? First of all, you're standing out among all those other applicants. Let me give you a real quick example on this one. I had applied for a job. I was looking at leaving one school district and going to another one. And I know I got the job interview because the principal at that school happened to be my neighbor. So I mean, I know that I got that job interview because I knew him. But here's the key thing. This was for a sixth grade position, and they had 200 applicants, or nearly 200 applicants for a single sixth grade position. That's a lot of people. And they're all going to come in with those same skill sets. So how do you bring yourself to the top of that pool, right? What is it that you do? So it helps you stand out among everybody else. It also shows how you are aligned with their vision, okay? That you're showing them, hey, I'm just like you people, okay? Take a look at this next part, right? Hiring managers are concerned with how you fit with their job description. That's what they're looking at, okay? That they want to make sure that you fit, there it is again, in their culture. Now, the last part, I think, is really kind of the funny piece. My sister-in-law happens to be an HR director. She's the one who writes all the job descriptions and the job postings. She writes them, not the people who she's working for. So if she's working, she worked for a while with like this publishing company that did like publishing and brochures and little magazines and whatever it is, those things that you see um, uh, around, like the store and whatever it is, like, local community. Here's our information. When those editorial people came to her and said, we want somebody to do this job, she wrote the job description for them. They didn't. So when that hiring team sits down and they read what you've put together on that resume, they're often shocked because they're seeing how well you're fitting. Okay? Because you're using words that they didn't even stop and think about. It was the HR person who put those words in. So if you think about that, that's kind of like one of those really kind of a cool twist to things. So like I said, I always encourage you to think that piece through. But wait, there's more, right? Here we go again, right? It proves your interest. How interested were you for that job? Did you just get on LinkedIn or did you get on ZipRecruiter? I was looking at ZipRecruiter just to kind of get some background information again today. And look, if I'm on ZipRecruiter, I can literally walk through and go apply, 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 apply. I can hit apply five times. And they've got like apply and they have easy apply, right? Easy apply, you just go, ooh, I'm going to hit every easy apply. Did you even look at that company? Did you even look at what that company is doing and whether or not they represent your needs or how you fit that? You didn't, right? If you start tailoring that resume, you're showing that you truthfully are interested, okay? It shows your enthusiasm for the job. You took the extra time. And again, those hiring managers really can see that thoughtfulness of what you did. The other part is you just put the employer's needs above your own. Sure, you want that job. Sure, you want that income, but you're saying, you know something, you're still the one who's more important. Okay. Now, I want to take a look, and I don't want to keep repeating this last piece right down here, focusing on the applicable skills. You're just showing again how you meet those, but it's this last part right here that I want to stress, and it's it helps you get through what we call the applicant tracking systems. Okay. Now, the applicant tracking systems, since we are going so digital anymore, when you apply for a job and you put your resume in there, you know how if you've ever done this before, it'll autofill the whole application for you, which it's like, oh, cool, I don't have to retype everything. But when you start seeing that, what that means is that they are using essentially really basic AI technology, but they're putting it into a spreadsheet so that the hiring manager can go through and say, okay, if I've got my spreadsheet right in front of me, I'm going to put filters in here and I'm going to say, okay, first thing, I wanted people with a master's degree in marketing. So I'm going to go to that column with the master's degree and I'm going to go pull all the people with master's degree in marketing to the top of the list. Simple as that. Then they're going to start looking for certain words that they were wanting to see. Okay. And those words might be, a specific type of a marketing program. Okay. So maybe you're using like sales, like if you ever get on Shark Tank and you hear that watching Shark Tank and you hear them talking about direct to consumer, right? If you're selling things direct to consumer, it just simply means you're skipping going through, say, Target to get them there. You're going straight you to the person buying it. If they want direct to consumer and they start using the words DTC, they're going to start looking for everybody who's put in DTC. They're going to filter that to the top. So by tailoring that resume, using their language as best as you can, it's going to move you further up that scale. So they're more likely to see you among those 200 some odd people who are out there. Does that make sense to everybody? That one's it's just sort of one of those kind of cool things, but I definitely want you to think that one through here. Questions? Okay, cool. There's no questions. I'm assuming things are going to be going well here. So, like I said, don't feel shy about this, and definitely make sure that you're reaching out. So here we go. Steps to tailoring your resume. What are the things that you're going to do to take your resume and turn it around? Look at the number one thing that I have again. Review the job description. Okay. You look at that job description. You're going to read that job description. You're going to highlight keywords, things that are popping out at you that you're saying, wow, this person believes that this is important. These are words that they are using. You might say, you might see a type of program that they're using. So if maybe you're applying for a job that says familiar with Microsoft Office systems, you're going to go, okay, I got to make sure I know those, right? Even if you're somebody who uses Apple products, you got to go, okay, they want Microsoft Office. I've got to make sure that I'm using those words, right? Then I'm going to compare my resume. So I'm going to put them side by side to each other, okay? And I'm going to start going, here's what they said over here. Now I'm going to change what I've got over here to meet what they have over here. I'm going to take my summary statement, which we will talk about, but I'm going to change that summary statement to highlight the things that they want. I'm going to take my work history and I'm going to restructure it. So as I told you, right, I've taught at the college level, I've taught at the K-12 level, and I do publishing. So if I'm applying for a college level position, under my work history section, again, we're going to show you this, but under my work history section, I take the college stuff and I move it to the top. Because the college people are really big into, do you know your content area? Okay, that they have this, that there's sort of this belief at the college level that if you're a K-12 person, you only know how to teach. You know how to make bulletin boards and things like that. They kind of believe that, so they focus more on the methodology. But if I'm applying for a high school position, I'm moving my K-12 experience to the top. If I'm applying for something in curriculum and instruction, I'm going to move my publishing things to the top. And then if it's a curriculum and instruction for K-12, I'm going to go publishing K-12 college in that order. If that makes sense, right? I'm taking the same things and I'm just kind of moving it around, right? We're going to make sure we have what we call measurable results. That means we're actually showing numbers, right? Think Jerry Maguire, right? That line, show me the money. We want to actually see money amounts here. We want to see what your sales were, how big your sales were. Okay, we want to see those sections there, and then we're going to update your skills section, right? So and that's going to be for the required and the preferred skill sets that they're looking for. We're going to raise those up as best as possible. So we're going to change those words as we go. Again, a lot of just kind of tweaking things around as we're going. And then I will just give you a real quick side note. As you're doing that, always just change the title of your resume to maybe the name of the company that you're applying for. So again, if I'm applying for a job at UCLA marketing, then I'm going to change my resume to Egan UCLA marketing resume. That way, when I'm saving it, I always see what I did. If I don't get that job, it's okay. If I got another marketing job out there, I could pull up the UCLA one and I can just sort of tweak that one to meet those needs. So I'm always going back to the same thematic resume, if that makes sense, right? I'm never going to obviously use the same one every single time. Okay, so we're going to get into starting with these job descriptions now. And I think that's where I'm heading to. Let me just click really quickly. Yep, that's where I was heading to. Perfect. So we're going to start looking at some job descriptions. This is where I would really encourage you. I want you to kind of scream out some answers. I'll pull up the chat box so I can see these as well. I'm going to give you some time to practice looking at these job descriptions. Okay. Now, these job descriptions I pulled off of like a LinkedIn site, pulled them off a while ago. So obviously these positions don't exist anymore, but I did pull them off a while ago. What I want you to do as we are looking at these job descriptions is to start looking at the words that you're going to want to go, I got to pay attention to this. I have to know this. Wow, this seems to be something that they are really focused on. I want you to look for things that might be red flags to you, things that you can work in your advantage, things that might work against you. So you can put these into the chat box as we are going here. Let me pull up my chat box here. And if we can get, well, let's see if I can get my darn thing to pop up here. There we go. So go ahead, and what I want you to do is take a look at this one and let me know what you are seeing here. Now, this is the first. Let me just tell you that this is the first brief job description until we get into it, until you start really reading into it, what you should be looking at. Chat box, or you can scream them out. It got posted 2 weeks ago. Perfect. Anything else we're seeing? I know there's not a lot here, but on the surface, let me put it this way. On the surface, there's not a lot here. In the reality, there's a lot we can be working with. Anybody else spot things they want to just chime in on? Posted by a recruiter. Perfect, Marissa. Okay, let's go ahead and look at this one here. Marissa, that is so perfect, right? I want to start with that one. Posted by a recruiter, which means when I said you got to know what the company is and know who the company is, you're definitely going to want to make sure you figure that piece out. So you're going to have to do a little bit more digging. Now, just as a real quick side note, I will tell you, I had a post from a friend of mine who graduated from high school with me. Come to find out, she actually works for 24/7 Talent. And I went, whoa, I remember them. So that was kind of cool. So yeah, we've got posted 2 weeks ago. So we'll start with a couple of those comments. Remember that first block of time, right? 2 weeks ago, in 2 weeks, they have had 178 applicants already. Okay, that means that this recruiter 24/7 is already hard at work sorting things out. So you've got to move yourself up a little bit further. Okay, the other piece to take a look at, and this is something a lot of people miss, is that we know that there's this marketing specialist position, right? And then you look at this and going, oh, 201 to 500 employees. This part right here, the 201 to 500 employees, is 24/7 Talent. It's not that company again. Okay. We can also take a look at this. So we'll start at the top. We know it says inclusion marketing specialist. So we start seeing some words right there. A lot of business people will jump immediately to seeing the marketing. However, the inclusion piece becomes a key role here. Then we get to this DEI position, and we got to know what that is. Okay. In today's world, we now know what this is. I will tell you, when I first copied this one out, I hit the word DEI and I went, what? And part of the reason is this. In the education community, we don't use DEI, we use EDI. Okay. It's the exact same words. Okay, but we flip-flop those letters. So that's one of those places where I'm definitely going to want to make sure I am changing what I use. So every single time I might use the word EDI, I'm going to want to go change that to DEI. Okay, so we've got this marketing specialist. It's a remote job. Okay, So that means I'm going to have to make sure I can show that I know how to do that. And I'm going to be working, help them out, obviously remotely. It's a contracted position. Okay. So because it's contracted, it means it's limited. Okay. So you want to make sure you're thinking, are you somebody who can come into a company, fix some problems, pay $40, get paid $40 an hour, and then move on? Right. So you got to make sure that you can demonstrate you've got that ability. Okay. If you're somebody who says, I only want a 100% full-time job and that's it, this is when you say, I'm going to pass on this one. So I build things off of this particular job. We're going to dive into this now. The next screen that I'm going to jump into here is the actual posting. So if I had have clicked on this inclusion marketing specialist tab, it's going to take me to the next screen, okay, in that job posting. Again, I want you to look at this. There's a lot that's in this one. Find the words that we want to see. Look at the things that we're going to definitely want to make sure that we're highlighting in our own work. Look for anything that stands out to you, okay? And then obviously we want to kind of try to figure out if we can dive in who the company is. Okay, so here we go. There we go. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to play around with this one on your own. So I'm going to be quiet here, drink my water, and let you take a look and throw those comments in the chat box or scream them out. Anything that you're seeing here. Perfect. So we see there's that DEI acumen, right? So we want to have that there. Relationship building, really key, especially when we stop and think, what DEI stands for. So we got the DEI and relationships. So that's really important. Good one, Amanda. Okay, well, let's go ahead and let's start into this one. Let's just kind of see if we can figure this out. Because again, if you want to apply for this particular position, you've got to know as much as you can of what you want to bring to the table here. So let's start at the really top, right? And we've got, where's my cursor? There it is. Our client is a well-known outdoor retailer. There we go. So if we go back to this and we know that this company is in Seattle, and it's an outdoor retailer, we have to figure out who that company is. This is when our detective skills come in. Anybody have a potential thought of what this might be? An outdoor retailer located and based out of Seattle. Anybody got this one? I'd almost say extra credit for whoever gets this thought here. Nope. No, we got Starbucks, good thought, but it's an outdoor retailer. So they're selling outdoor products, things that are designed for you. Got it. I'm not even gonna, I don't even want to try to pronounce your name, but yes, REI, you got it. Bonus points. Woo. Okay. Yeah. So we know it's REI. Okay. Just by looking at this. So REI, it sells backpacks, camping equipment, biking equipment, skiing, right? They are outdoorsy type of people. So we've got that in the back of our head, which means if we are applying for this job, we want to show that we're fitting the REI mentality, not this just some random inclusion marketing person. Okay. So that one is really, really important. Once we figure that piece out, see, if I was applying for Starbucks, that's a completely different thing, right? Two completely different mentalities of how they're going to approach their business. So that's why we want to track that part down. Now we keep going through here. Looking for an inclusion marketing specialist. Okay. This person will support the team working toward their commitment to becoming fully inclusive. There's the current words there. Multicultural, anti-racist, whoops, not sure what happened there, organization by supporting inclusion marketing, cross-divisional business partners and vendors. That's a lot of just sort of blah, blah, blah comments. It's like everybody pretty much puts out right now that we're looking for that type of a position. Okay, so it's not really giving us things, but you'll notice that they shove that way up in the front really quickly, which tells you that that's going to become really important. Okay, here we go now. This role will drive connectivity in work that relates to an inclusive experience for their, and I'm going to highlight this one, for their current and future customers. So we say we want an inclusive experience, and that's the piece that we want to play with. So I'm going to circle the word experience here for you. REI sells a lot of their material, not through the stores, but through their catalogs. You get an REI catalog, people look at those, they're buying those products and having them sent to them. So that inclusive experience implies what they are seeing in that catalog. Okay, so we're focusing on that. We want that inclusive experience. If you do go into that store, do you feel like you belong there? Okay, so what you're focused on and the things that you would want to hype up in your resume, in your job application, are the things that you did in your prior job to make people feel comfortable and welcome there. Okay. Then we get to the ideal candidate will bring a DEI, I keep losing my cursor right there, the DEI acumen, right? So you understand the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's going to be there. So this is where you are somebody, if you were doing, you were working in the DEI office at like Ford Motor Company, you're still bringing that type of a background because that's the work you were doing. You'll notice though, when we come back up here to the very top with the inclusion marketing piece, okay, it's not the marketing piece that they're hyping up, it's the inclusion piece that they're putting to the front of the of everything. Okay, so now all of a sudden, as you start to think about this, as you start tailoring your resume, you're going to start to shift that resume over to focusing on more of that relationship building piece. That's what you're going to change, and that's how you're going to tweak and tailor your resume for this. Now, this is the next part that I think is really important. And it's this piece right down here, this whole block, okay? And it says, right, this is a contracted position. Okay, great. Means that it's only going to go through the end of the year. So whenever this job application was posted, only to the end of the year. So it might only be a 6-month contract. But this is the key piece. If it's a good fit, we can convert this to a full-time employee position. When you're writing that letter, you want to stress that you don't want this job to stop. You plan on doing whatever you can to maintain and keep this going, right? They don't want somebody. I mean, if they're stressing it to that level, they're not looking for somebody who's just a one-hit wonder. Because are they going to potentially need this again, maybe? Yeah. So you want to show, hey, I'm here for this. If it's a contract, I'm more than happy to help you. But I got to tell you, I believe in the REI experience so much that I think we can extend this to here and to here and to here. And I want to show you everything that I can do. Right? So that's the enthusiasm that you're hyping up. And again, it all comes back to knowing who the company is. Now we get down to the role responsibilities. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to put my laser pointer here on this one here. Develops the XDiv process. Okay. So if you don't know what that is, you're going to want to take a look and dig that one up, right? Communication, but it's cross-divisional process, which means I'm working across different branches of the company. So you can work with multiple company branches. I can work with the HR department. I can work with marketing. I can work with publishing. You don't want to just say I've only done one thing, right? But then we get down to related to DEI risk assessment. When I see that role right there, I know good and well that they said, we got to fix a problem. Something came back and kicked us. Okay. So we see this whole DEI risk assessment. I'm going to come all the way down here to this next point. Take a look at this DEI product triage. Okay. Those two pieces tell me that they have run into a problem potentially, and they're saying we got to have somebody who can spot an issue, fix the problem, figure out where it started, fix it, move it on. Right? The rest of these pieces, right, are just generic pieces, right? We got to be able to provide recommendations and improvements. We don't want you to tell us what we did wrong. You got to come up with solutions. We already know that, right? Drives development, obviously, manages, there's that triage piece, right? Support negotiation with vendor agreements. Okay, you're working, when you work with another company, right? Can we make sure we're using the same marketing, right? These are all these basic things right here. These are you're going to see those in every single job posting. Okay. So our job here, when we're looking at this particular description, is to pull those pieces out that we see are so crucial. And by digging this deep into this particular position, we can go, okay, that's what they want. Now, how do I demonstrate that I can do this? Okay, so I'm going to get my pointer off here, and I want to open it up here for any questions before we go on to the next piece. Any questions? It's nice that we've only got a small group of people here. We have a lot of people signed up, but I think a lot of people are just going to do this remotely. So when we have a small number, if you've got questions, this is definitely the time to be asking them, because I can really respond to your individual needs. Okay. Then let's move on then. Okay. So what you do then is you take a look at that and you can say, look, I'm going to look at my skill set and say, what can I do to show them that I can do this? There's a lot of times that you're going to look at a job description, you go, I can do that job. But then you think about what you personally did in your work, and you're going to go, none of my jobs actually said that I did that. I don't care if it's said that you did that. If you can demonstrate that you did it in a different way, then you're in good shape. Let me give you an example. A good friend of ours got her degree in juvenile criminal justice, right? That's what her bachelor's degree was in. But she has moved to various different positions, and now she is actually in charge of the 911 program, the 911 center, and actually running this and coordinating it and training it for a city down in southern Washington state. Big difference between working with juvenile system to that. What she did was she was able to say, here's what I did with the juvenile system, show that skill set, move to a different place, show that skill set, move to a different space. That's what we were trying to do. You're saying, okay, how do I match with everything that's going on? Can I change the words of what I'm doing and show something else? So even if I'm applying, so I can sit there and show how I've done contract negotiations and marketing, even if I haven't been in a marketing position, because that's the work that I do in publishing. So I'd bring that material up to the forefront of a job application if that's what they were looking for. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to try to figure out how you match. So this is kind of that review process, right? It's a 3-step process. You figure the jobs that you want, read those, figure out what they want, figure out what stands out, and then tweak your material to make it all work. Look at it and reorganize that material. So it's this 3-step process that we're working our way through. Okay. And hopefully you're going to be able to see at this point how important knowing each of those steps, how important that job description is and that early research that you do. So if you're actively looking for a job, you want to spot those immediately, make it a task every single day that if you're going to get onto a LinkedIn or a ZipRecruiter or whatever it is, find it, do that research really quickly, and then start that tweaking process so you can get your resume in there in that first 4 days. Okay. So yes, it's not one of those that says, I'll get to it when I get to it. Okay. You wait that long, you're going to be part of that 178 people who've already applied for that job. And we want to make sure that we are increasing your chances. Okay. So now we get to your resume piece. So once you've figured this all out and you've sorted your resume and you've figured out what their needs are, now we want to kind of put this resume together. This is where we're going to build that resume. I want to stress to you here, you'll notice where I say essential items you may include. Not that you will, but you may include. This is where every single resume that you put together may be different. Okay. There's 17 of you who are in here right now in the Zoom room with me right now could all apply for different jobs, and you're going to be able to use different parts of this resume. So don't feel like there's one size fits all for anything that we're doing here. Okay. But obviously there are those key elements we want. Here we go. Resume parts. I've got my required elements on one side and the optional elements on the other side. So we want to make sure that we've got those. Okay. Obviously, we want our contact information. How are they going to reach us? So we're going to focus in on that. You're going to have an introduction to your resume. That'll be your summary, your qualifications, whatever that might be. You've got your professional experience. We often call that your work experience, your skill set, and your education. Those have to be there, bare minimum. If you've got that stuff, a lot of times we often refer to that as your CV or your curriculum vitae, right? It's your basic information. Then we could potentially add in these other elements on the other side where we've got our optional items. Okay, we might include any training or certificates that we've gotten. If we've got a specific license to do something, right? If you're a contractor, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you're going to show them what you've got in terms of that license. Do you have a specific language skill set? And then we're talking here about people, if you are 100% fluent in that other language, right? Not like, oh, I'm just playing around with this right now. Any projects, publications, freelance work you might have done, volunteer work, awards, honors, hobbies, interests, those are going to get added in if it is applicable to the job. And that's always the important piece. If it's not necessary, do not include it. Now, if the job application requires it, if when you're submitting things and putting all those forms that they want in there and they say include it, you need to do that. So I'm going to give you a real quick side note here on this one, and it's the one on the licenses on the right side there. Okay. One particular school district that's around me wants you to put in your driver's license. They want to have it included. Okay. Now, it's just because the form, they've got all these things that are listed as required items. Do you need a driver's license when you are applying for a job? No. Okay. Or for a teaching job, I should say. No, you don't need one. But by leaving that off, when they open up your dashboard and they see what have you filled out, if they see that you're missing an item right there, they're not going to look at your job application. So you include it, right? They're not going to do anything with it, but it's going to check that box off that says you have filled out everything 100% of the way. So, keep that part in mind. But when they're talking about, again, licenses, if you have a legal license to do something, like a notary certification, notary license, those are the pieces that you might want to include. Okay. So let's talk about our contact information here. Okay. So contact information would be obviously your first and last name. This is really going to be important, and you're going to see an example a little later on. But we want you to have both that first and last name listed. I would include here, and I don't have it on the slide, but I think it's certainly an important one, would be maybe pronouns. Now, the reason that we put those in there is that, and you're going to see the example later on, if your name is a name that could be easily confused. Okay, so when the person is writing back to you and they want to say, dear Mr. Fill in the blank, they don't want to go, ooh, I screwed this one up. So if you have a name that can be both masculine or feminine, make sure maybe I would include those pronouns. So that's always an important one. Your email address is there. Now, let's talk about that email address. If you've got, a lot of us have these email addresses that we created maybe in college, they're funny ones, whatever that might be. Remember our first impression. If your email is an email address that gives across the wrong first impression, that's when you're going to want to open a second email address that you're going to be using only for maybe your jobs. So maybe that's when you have a second like Gmail account that's just got your name in it, or some version of your name, so that people can, they read that and they know that you are being serious. We're going to have your phone number there. Okay. And, obviously area code and phone number. And that one's important. That way, if they want to talk to you, they're going to pick up the phone and call. Okay. I would always encourage, though, on the phone number is we finally decided to cut the cord on our phones. So now our household we only use cell phones. But in the past, people would go, hey, we're sending you a text message. But they were trying to send the text message to our landline. And that's not exactly going to be helping you out a whole lot, right? So you want to put that phone number in there and maybe even put in like mobile or something like that, so that people know that if they needed to send you a text, they could. Now we have our mailing address, and you'll notice that I said it's optional. Now here's the reason why. If I'm applying for a job, say in London, and I'm here in the Seattle area, but I'm applying in London, one of the things that they're going to definitely want to know is Do I have a work visa? Okay. Now, I don't have a work visa right now. I'm not going to go spend the money and get a work visa on a random chance that I might get a job in London. Okay. I will, if I know I'm moving to London permanently, or I'm going to make that big jump, you better believe it. I'm going to go get that. But until that time, I'm not going to put that there. I might not include my mailing address because I want them excited about me first. And then if they turn around and go, "Do you have a work visa?" And it's like, no, but here's the thing. If you are overly interested and you're like, you know something, you are one of our top candidates, I will immediately start that process today and I will get that paperwork to you as soon as it is filed. And they're going to go, okay, we're good to go. So you might want to put that in there. LinkedIn, I always put down optional. Now, here's the reason why. Your LinkedIn one, that's that generic resume that's kind of including a little bit of everything. Okay. So if you were to get into my LinkedIn account, you're going to see everything from K-12 stuff to publishing, whatever that might be. Now, I can always change that all the time, but sometimes I don't need to. So if that's not going to help, I'm not going to put that in there. My current job title, that's where if you'll notice here right below Brandon Davis, he says he's an account manager. If I'm applying for a job that's outside of being an account manager, I might remove that title. I might not include that for what I'm applying for. So that's where that's optional, but you can see hopefully the name, the email, the phone number, those are definitely important. I always like what these people do over here. If you look on the sample, that they're even using the little icons, those little symbols that we know, we can always visually see and we know what those are. So those, it's just an easy way to draw people in really quickly. Any questions on the contact information? Sometimes I'll often get somebody here. Okay, I got a chat box here. Alejandro, I'm assuming you are referring to like filling out a job application. Um, yeah, that NA would be things. Yeah. So on an application, that's going to be kind of different. Sometimes they put those down as a required thing that they want you to fill in. For example, I have to fill out a form for a single student every single day, which is really time consuming, but they've required the person requesting the information requires me to fill that in every single time. So I just automatically put in NA, even though it doesn't apply in that particular situation. And you said questions you don't answer or can't answer. Yeah, definitely do that. If you're avoiding it, that would be a dead giveaway. So hopefully that will help there. Okay. Okay. Your resume introduction. So right below your name, you're going to put this introduction. And there's 4 different types that you can potentially use. We can have a summary. We can have an objective. We can do a profile of who you are. We can maybe just bullet points and qualifications. We can try a couple different approaches to these. Remember that 6 to 7 seconds. That's that block of time that they're going to look at. They're going to read that and they're going to go, okay, this is what this person's bringing to the table. It's got to be short and sweet, 3 to 4 sentences, shows kind of how you're special, shows how you're important, shows you what you bring to the table. And again, it should grab their attention. Okay. Now you might be able to use also an objective. So on one of my resumes, I've got my objective, and then below that, I have my summary. So my objective is my goal is to become a curriculum coordinator. I had one in there on something that I was just kind of playing around with and looking at recently, and I just removed the objective piece. I just deleted it because it was like, I don't need that. I don't need to say specifically I'm looking only for that job. I want to kind of keep it a little more open. So I just deleted the objective piece, but kept the summary. So that's what you're looking at right there. So again, basically simple. Does it have to be in full sentences or can it be bullet points? So summary of qualifications, that would be bullet points. So you can do this in a bullet point section, or you can do it in a paragraph. Again, it depends on the job you are applying for. Okay. And you might say, look, these people want these people are really going to be focused. I'm going to use bullet points because it's going to bring things to the top a little bit quicker. Okay. So it all kind of depends on, again, the job that you're looking at here. Okay. So here we go. We're going to take a look at this one. And I want you to read through this particular position. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to prime you a little bit. I'm going to kind of get you thinking about this. This person is probably applying for a job that is easily in the six-figure digit salary level, right? These people, they're bringing in the big bucks. Okay, we're talking upper level executive. What I want you to do is I want you to read through this and kind of see the things that this person is bringing to the table. I will tell you right now, one pet peeve I have, and a lot of people have with this one, is it just seems to be a little wordy. But once you start looking at the job, you're going to go, yeah, this guy can probably get away, or this person, I won't say this guy, this applicant can probably get away with it. So give yourself about a minute to kind of look through this one right here. If there's things that you're spotting, definitely bring those to the forefront and let me know what you're seeing. You got it. Bilingual pops up immediately. No specific word count. Nope. We're just looking at a bullet point, simple paragraph. So what you're seeing right here in terms of a length, that's about what we're looking at. If you wrote it in paragraph format. Okay. Innovative design solutions. Good. Fortune 500 companies. There we go. Now we're getting there. Okay. Now, as you look at this, hopefully you can see how this person does come across as like, I know a lot about who I am, right? And yeah, they do, right? This person is that confident. But again, you look at this, that this person is what they call a creative strategist, right? That this is a title that says, look, I am here to come in, fix problems, and show you how to solve things, right? So we get like visionary. There's one of those adjectives, right? Visionary and a compliment, accomplished, which says that this person thinks outside of the box, and they even use that later, out of the box thinker. Bilingual. We don't know what those bilinguals are, right? We don't get that, but just by throwing the word bilingual out there really brings that to the surface. Okay. Got an out of the box thinker. Innovative design solutions, right? This person doesn't just kind of create ideas. This person comes up with solutions that fix problems. Okay. Then we get down to Amanda was able to catch the Fortune 500 companies, right? This person worked for big companies. And what I like about this one is when you come over here and you notice that they're working for Apple and Toyota, right? Now, doesn't this, I mean, companies like this. So we know that this person has been brought into these companies to fix problems. But the cool part is we've got two really different companies, right? Car company, computer company, right? So this person is flexible in what they can do, right? And then we can see that they work, always meets their clients' needs. That one's key. Revenue driving events. This person has a proven track record. Okay. to exceed what you asked for. So this person's coming in saying, you want me to do this? Not a problem. I'm going to do this and more. You want to make money? I'm going to give you money and more. You want to if you want to pay me the bucks, if you want to say, hey, Scott, I want you to do this job, here's a blank check. Write whatever you want to do, fix the company. This person's going to go, okay, are you sure on this one? I'm going to spend some money, but if that's what you want to do, we can do it. And clearly, this person's got that track record. Again, you can see it looks really wordy, but this person's probably applying for a job or at least looking to help this company out of going, look, you're in desperate situation. I'm the person for you. Right. So, if you've been following the news, for example, this type of a person would be somebody like Boeing's going to go, we got to get this person in here to help Boeing out right now. Okay. It's a big thing up here in Seattle. Like Boeing's all over the place. So you can get the idea that Boeing would be a company that's going to go, we got to fix this. We got some problems. We are here to do this. Okay. So you can see big thinker. Okay. Let's not do the same thing that we've always been doing. Okay. But that's what you're looking at right here. It's about a paragraph worth. So somebody had said, is there a specific word count? You notice it's straightforward to the point. Yeah, it's long. Yes, it's wordy. But if they're applying for this job, if they're sending this resume in, somebody who's desperate, they're willing to read that and they're going to spot those big words, the big companies, and they're going to go, yes, we got to talk to this person. They're selling themselves as, I am a one of a kind person. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go over and take a look at two other profiles here. We're going to backpedal a little, and now we're not going to go with the big ones. We're going to go take a look at some more specific ones. And I'm going to give you two examples. The one that'll be on the left, or the one that'll be on the right is somebody fresh out of college or still in college getting ready to move on. Okay. So I want you to look still at how these people are bringing to the surface what talents that they have. Same thing that we did here. Throw out whatever it is that you're seeing in the profiles. Okay. So here we go. These are your sample introductions. Perfect. Those right now, and I want you to look at this and identify